Poverty in the Family by Deshae Johnson. Hi, so we're going to talk about how poverty can affect families, how can it affect the children. The conflict between parents can occur due to the lack of money. So I chose the book on the grapes of wrath, the Joe family experience, the significant challenge related to the poverty throughout the story, including those mentioned. And basically, this novel talks about how the family came from having been on top to being on the bottom. So yeah, let's take a look. In the employment, so at the beginning, the family was they suffered um, like others during the Great Depression. They lost their home, their livelihood due to the economic downturn and the double. They were forced to leave their farm in Oklahoma in search for work in California, which led to them with no employment opportunities. And how the family was affected by this poverty led to integration of the family. So the family was no longer considered equal. They had many different struggles. They lost a lack of respect for themselves, lack of respect for their others. They were no longer going by the saying "we are family" because they didn't feel like they were family because how poverty came in and stepped in and just snatched that family unity away. Yeah, it can be a lot. The Essex to gain the income, so the family background, they became migrant workers. The Joel family faced several struggles. Consistent work paying jobs, paying decent paying jobs. They often encounter exploitation by other landowners. They face fierce competition from other workers who may have better resources, who may have better equipment than them, and it's caused them not to have a stable income. And how the access to gain income affect the Joel family. The family struggle led to lack of resources, which turns into access of educational, lack of education, healthcare, other necessities. The Joel family faced a large amount of debt, and it basically took a toll on how the family felt about each other. And this is major because sometimes families so dependent on their income, so they figure that we don't need that unity. I want to say unity that I want to say, but and it's not something we should always depend on. We should always not depend on the assets of how our income is going to change our health, our family. And it was a lot. It took a toll. Like in the beginning, that I'll tell you in the introduction how the mother felt like the saying we are family regardless of what we face. That didn't happen because the lack of income they had, the lack of we're no longer on top. We're considered the low class family. We're no longer considered the middle or high class family that we once before because we had this miraculous source of income. The physical safety, the family background, basically the family's health started decline. The work because of the work conditions from leaving from Oklahoma to going to California to try to find work, they didn't realize that it was going to be so different. The hostile law enforcement, the hostile environment they were in, took a tour of the poor living conditions, helped jeopardize their health and safety. They didn't feel safe in that particular environment. So, how does the physical safety how it affect families? So, poverty can lead to social isolation, disconnection. The family struggles prevent from participating in social activities available to those with more means, isolation, disconnection from their feelings, disconnection from them as a unity as a whole, as a family. It was like it took a huge toll. Poverty can lead to a sense of embarrassment. They felt embarrassed because they were no longer that family that were on top. They were so considered to be low caste with no type of money in that 10%. And the shame, the guilt, it can take a toll on a lot of us. It can take a guilt, make us all feel like we're ashamed we don't have this, or we can't afford to buy about $1,000 pair of shoes or $1,000 pair of watch, or purse, etc. Because we're no longer considered to be that middle or high class family. So physical safety, it can not only destroy your physical, it can also destroy your mental well-being as well. It can tear you down because you're so accustomed to having this, and you don't have it anymore. So it can take a toll on your mental as well. Education and poverty. So the family basically education took a back burner for this family, especially for the Joe children. They had limited access to their formal education. They were often pulled out of school to help with the family. The family needed their help, so which caused them to have to go in the field and do that work. So, how poverty affects education? Poverty can limit to access to quality education. It can have a long-term consequences for individual future. So basically, this is how it's excuse me, how education and poverty plays a huge role for majority of the kids today in the U.S. It is hard to have education when you have no money. It is hard to put your kids or put yourself through school when you have the lack of no funds. And it's hard. Am I would consider in that number. Once before in my undergrad year, it was very hard for me to oftentimes pay for my tuition. And had to work hard to be able to get that undergrad bachelor's degree in sociology, and it was very difficult for myself. So education to poverty is something that we often don't talk about, but it was hard. It was oftentimes that I wanted to give up because I didn't have the money to continue to my further education. But I'm so grateful that God put it in someone's path to help me out, and I received my education. And it's oftentimes that a lot of we don't know what's going on with education society, but because some people don't talk about it, some people just give up. And I think that's what a majority like. I don't want the world to continue to be like that, but we have to stand up because they have kids like the Joel children who have limited access to education. They were forced to leave their education alone in order for them to have food on their table. So they had to leave their formal education to even go into the field and work. And it's hard. Like it's really difficult for some families now, not just stories. It's literally happening today, right now, as we speak. So it's always important that we treat everyone the same, regardless of their economic status, whether they're low, middle, or high class. Yeah. So, conclusion. The Joel family experience vividly illustrates the ways of poverty can impact families in the social system. How the family, this particular story talks about how it's hard for you to even have education, healthcare, the necessities you need to eat, sleep, home condition, and it's very hard for us as individuals to make it today in this economy because a lot of things are going on right now. We're not in a Great Depression, but we're dealing with something, and it's hard because a lot of families are still dealing with these things now, even though the world may be different now, but we're still living in some type of poverty. I see it all a lot in my community. I see a lot of families who are struggling, who are dependent on the government, and it's hard. And I'm grateful that I'm in a position to be able to provide for myself and my children. I wouldn't consider myself middle, high, or low class. I would consider myself as a surviving person, due to the credit of God and Himself for being the source of income for myself and my children. Um, and this is a really good topic that most people don't talk about. As a believer myself, I don't categorize people as low, middle, or high class because your character determines who you are. Low, middle, high, low income people. I consider you based off your character. I'm not one to basically judge you based on what you can bring to the table for me, because I can be the richest person in the world and have the most golful attitude ever compared to the person who's a low income and have the greatest attitudes ever. So um, I'm just grateful that I was able to touch on this topic and share my thoughts. And I just hope and pray that we all can find some type of way to help individuals who are in these situations that we don't normally talk about, and how poverty can cause you to not just lose everything in the physical, you can also lose everything in the spiritual as well. Meaning that your mind may neither take it, you don't know who to depend on, and I'm just hoping, pray that we all can get to the point where we're no longer considering ourselves to be poor, no longer be in poverty, and no longer how poverty can affect families and put us in these social class systems. So grateful to have talked about this topic and hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did as well. So you guys have a great day.